Alright, so I spent some time and I'm still debating on how I want to run the coolant lines. There's three main options. There's this high option here, which is run along the center. It comes in kind of close to where the headers are, even though the headers are going up right now. It still has to kind of, coolant line would come down and then have to creep back up. So this area right here would be kind of exposed and it might be jiggling around with nothing to support it. So that's one con of that setup. The other con is this channel will get hot enough to burn you, even with the insulation. It doesn't seem like I can get around that. So in this position, it's easy to burn your leg, especially for me getting out of the center. When I step down from here to here, it's going to be the inside of my calf touching that. When I get in and out, it's going to be all kinds of calf area to get in and out. Likewise for the passengers, when they start to get up, it's going to be the outside of the left calf on this side, outside of the right calf on that side. As they stand up, they might brush against it. Calves and ankles, that kind of thing. It is kind of hidden away on the sides, and there's no direct conduction to the seat this way. It does also shield a little bit of the drive shaft, which is not really visible from that angle when the seat is in, but it gives a little bit more protection. What else? It doesn't interfere with the bolt down there for the truck arm, and it, as a minus, it's still, when it exits here, it's still going to need some sort of a little bit of shielding as it goes away from the drive shaft. So it needs a little bit of extra, another like 25-inch length of this box tubing. This joint here doesn't match up very nicely, so something imprecise would have to be done there. Probably probably grind this down, or cut this, grind this so that this can sit up a little bit higher at this level. Okay, so a little bit of cutting and grinding here for that detail. And then it's also a little bit spaced away because of the way that this is coming into the center of this beam, or this tubing there, and then this one's going to sit on top. So there's going to be the gap that tapers down, down, down until it's tight over here. It does make the seatbelt issue a little bit more challenging. Probably the seatbelt brace will have to be welded to the bottom of this plate, something like that. Should be plenty strong. For the side seats, they would be able to sit lower, so they wouldn't need to be raised up 2 inches. They could sit, basically the butt could be directly on here. So lowering that whole seat 2 inches means the head of the person next to me is lowered 2 inches, which means I have more clearance for my arms to do shifting up top. And I'm not going to elbow, well, hopefully I'm not going to elbow people in the face. So that might buy a little more clearance there. What else? So the other way of routing it is out along the side here. So basically join these two pieces kind of straight, and it would come in right here, flat along the bottom, pretty much continue about straight, maybe to about here, and then it could kick out an angle this way, kick out an angle that way. The reason I wouldn't come all the way straight back is because I have a battery right here, and it would get in the way of, you know, trying to, there's basically going to be a wall right here, and the battery will be a big box, so I don't have room to do a good 90 here and come up. So I need to come through on the back side of where the battery is, and then swoop up before it can interfere with the truck arm. Probably to the back side of that piece of metal right there, and then tie up right in between the shock and the rest of the tube frame, and head towards that end where the you know, that's where the radiator inlet and outlet are going to be on each side. So this one is nice because it gets out of the way. No one's really going to step here. Only your shoe would touch it. It's not even going to be your ankle. So this is nice for not getting burned, but you have this weird like angle I have to do up here to route the hose, and it's not protected. So I need either some sort of like additional tubing or protection thing right there. And it's pretty exposed to like branches or rocks hitting it, and I didn't like that. So yeah, that part is a little bit messy. You know, maybe there's just some shielding that could happen, like a curved, like a skid plate kind of thing, and then the Lexan would just be on the back side of that, so I could see out. So that would protect it from rocks and whatnot. So that's an option, talking through it there. The last option, which was the first idea I had, was to basically have this piece down lower. So coming from this area here, coming from that area there, and then following this, but it can't follow directly because the transmission's in the way. Okay, so this 4L60E has a kick out on the drain pan here, and it's actually like right over the center of this tubing, so it's got to be kicked out like that, at least. Okay, so at least like that. This is a 2x2. Okay, and then if I wanted a straight shot, then that means, you know, that means angling it from here back to here straight, and now I have this like a 1-inch gap, right? So it's not coming to the nexus of this point anymore. It's kind of kicked out an inch just to match this, or to clear this rather. And then with the 4L80E, who knows what would happen, right? So I'm kind of planning on these channels to be tacked in, because they're not going to be structural in any of the three cases. They're not structural. So tack it in, and then if I need to, I can like grind it out and move it. Let's see. So, and then on the back side, the piece down here would kind of meet up with this piece and follow this line and basically kick out to that same location here. All right, and that means the seat would have to sit on top of a 2x2. So I found a 2x2 box tubing, something on top of here, and that's what the seat would be mounted in. And then the top of the seat would be, you know, have some sort of brace, kind of like this one has it. Okay, and that's going to hold it in place enough. it's not going to need to resist rocking from down here. That's going to be done by the top of the seat. So yeah, this one has a little bit of clearance issues, like getting this bolt out would be, you know, close to impossible. If I needed to adjust this, I'd have to take these bolts off and then raise or lower this whole bracket, or move it around so that I could get this bolt out. Right now I have the nut on that side, on the inside, but maybe that would be a good reason to try and flip it around, as long as the bolt would not interfere with the drive shaft itself, to move that around. So yeah, that's one complication of this one. Also, you know, there's a little bit of clearance here following this straight line here. Oops. I'd have to you know, get it close to this edge, or maybe notch this edge a little bit. I don't want to notch this too much because it is, you know, there is force coming this way, and it needs to tie into something. So I'm trying to resist notching things, since this is not, I'm claiming it's not structural. It could be, it's like a 16 gauge, right? So it's just as good as this, or this, or this, right? 16 gauge, you know, it's perforated, but you know, what can you do? So there was one other option that would take a lot of work, and that is to basically set this up at this height. Okay, I probably wouldn't get rid of this 1x2 boxing, but I would move this up to here. So basically it would be like sitting on top of this guy. It'd be like that. Okay, and then I'd cut this so that the box tubing could continue all the way out there to the back side. Okay, and then I'd get rid of this piece and trim part of these flat pieces here, and basically use this piece in place of this. So this piece would move up, it would come out here like this, come up and down 2 inches, right? And so this piece would be replaced with this 2x2. So this is like a 1/2 inch by 1.5. Okay, and this is a 2x2. So this would move up, and then this piece would be on the, instead of going to like the center of the tube here, it would go to the inside tangent of this tube. Okay, so it would be even closer to the header here, which is not ideal, but that would mean that this piece now becomes like semi-structural. It's not structural in the sense that it's load bearing of the chassis flexing, but it would be load bearing for the pedal assembly system. So stepping on it, you know, pressing the brakes and all that, some of that force would be getting transferred through here to the main tube chassis. So structural and running a coolant line through it. So a drawback of that is that this whole corner here is now a burning hazard. You know, it's a lot of work. It would probably be independent of either transmission, which is nice. So if I change transmissions, you know, the most I might have to do is cut this center section and raise up the pedal assembly a little bit to clear the bell housing. But these could stay in place. It would look kind of neat You know, especially when these things are painted and not sitting around galvanized. It could look pretty neat. It could, you know, painted matte black, it might complement this look here, or like a satin black. What else? It would look like it was more thought through, like I was expecting to do it. I would get rid of this detail, maybe even like break all the tacks of this seat and you know, take it out and rethink this mounting slash blast plate here, because this is acting like a shield for my underside, my undercarriage, because this aluminum seat's not going to protect me. Let's see, what else? So, a lot of work, plus the drawback of it, the coolant line coming real close to the header there. In that case, also the seats would sit lower. There might be more of a burning hazard with your arm. So, and then it would still, you know, coming out at this place here, it's still going to require another 25-inch or so section of shielding to get away from the drive shaft. So, all right, I think that's all the details I can think about now. But it helps to talk through it. Rubber ducking, as it were. Yeah, I think for electronics wise, I think I'm going to try to stuff all the electronics back here. That way it's really close to the battery. I'll just have a, you know, large positive gauge wire going up to the starter and alternator. So, you know, I think it would look pretty cool to have all of the electronics and stuff sitting behind the seat, rather than trying to tuck it up in a dash that doesn't exist and blocking the clear firewall idea. I will, because the wires are so short for the PCM, I would stick the PCM like up here, kind of where this 2x2 box tubing is already blocking your view. I would stick the PCM, or yeah, this guy on the LT1, but pretty similar size for the LS. So stick it somewhere, you know, I don't know, stick it somewhere in there where it doesn't obstruct your view too much. Maybe you can see the heat sink from the outside. Just kind of gets it out of the way, and then run, you know, a few different power wires up to that. Now there would be wires coming out of there for like sensors and gauge cluster type things, but those would be pretty small, and those would be running up the steering column anyway. So that would be a good place for that. And then all the other wiring could be kind of bunched back here, back behind my center seat. So, because with the side seats in, you really don't see much of this area, but you would be able to kind of peek through and see the relays, things like that. So that might be kind of a nice place to store it. And then right here, there's going to be a big chunky gas tank, right? The fuel cell extends out to here on both sides, with the battery down here and a matching plate on the other side for the two air compressors. And then with the compressed air tank down here somewhere, down behind the panhard bar, and then the rear mount radiator kind of along this plane right here, and fan system, hopefully venting out somehow, venting out the back of the car. that means that this area here, this small amount of area up top here, and on the sides of the fuel tank are not being used. So I have a little bit of storage area here, which is nice. Yeah, I like that, having a little bit of storage to throw a backpack or spare parts or whatever. I think I am going to go with the an in-tank fuel system solution. So I got a triple pump fuel pump hanger that I can modify my fuel cell and stick that in there, do some welding. But it eliminates like dozens of fittings, and for each of those fittings it's a potential leak, but it also takes up a lot of space. You have to lay it out, it's noisier. If something starts leaking and catches fire, there's just a lot more going wrong with the setup that I'm going with. I think I need one fitting, which is like a ORB 10 to a swivel 90-degree 8AN. Okay, and that combines 1, 2, or 3 pumps that would live inside. I could just run one pump and then have room to expand without really having to do anything more with fittings on the outside. And then the return would go to a separate area on the fuel tank. I could just weld in a new bung to make it easy to get to. And then yeah, so feeling pretty good about that. I didn't think about welding an extra bung. I was going to use one of the, either a return line that's on the top, like a return/vent line that's on the top, or a one of the two sump connections. But now that I think about it, I could just weld an 8AN bung on, since I'm going to be welding it anyway, and I have to repaint it, parts of it. I could just weld on a bung exactly where I want it and save a lot of space. So yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, what else? Yeah, I think that's it. Saving space, reducing the number of parts. This cooling system is a little messy. With the temperature, I was thinking about, like, I was chatting with Grok about doing some backlighting inside this perforated, called a corrugated, perforated tubing, so that I could have like some accent lighting emanating through the holes. But I think it's going to be so hot, it's not going to be good for the LEDs. So I need to rethink that. Yeah, that's about it.